feel that we met in Grand Central for a reason. We were meant to find each other.
Welcome to What the Flick, everybody. I'm Ben and Matt and Christy and Chris Evans, who nearly everyone in this industry likes, has directed a movie. He didn't write it, but he directed it.
It's his directorial debut.
It's his directorial debut, and it stars him and the lovely Alice Eve. What's it about?
It's called Before We Go. So it's 1:30 in the morning at Grand Central Terminal, and Chris Evans is a lovelorn, busking trumpeter.
Busking?
Yeah, he's busking.
He is busking.
I don't know that
busks.
word.
He plays for money.
Never heard that word?
Once, they're
What's the matter with you?
buskers.
I don't know busking.
They busk. He's playing his trumpet for money in the middle of the night, but it's 1:30 in the morning at Grand Central, so there's nobody there. But one person who is there is Alice Eve, who is hauling ass past him to make the final train back to New Haven. In the process, she drops her phone and breaks it. She misses her train. He catches up to her, and they spend this whole long night walking and talking and trying to retrieve her Prada bag and perhaps also her marriage. Take a look.
So what do you want to do? You want to get a hotel room or something?
Excuse me?
No, not, Jesus, not for us, for you. If we can find your purse, we can get you home and make me a hero. Want to come with me, have a little adventure?
I'm sure that my husband will really appreciate your helping me.
I think you might be missing some hardware.
What is that supposed to mean?
You're not wearing a wedding ring. You know, I'm calling it like I see it.
Oh! Go back to whatever you were doing before I came along and I ruined your night.
You didn't ruin my night.
I like your shiny trumpet.
Bought it with a shiny engagement ring.
Have you ever had a feeling somebody was going to play a major part in your life?
Yeah.
It's possible that you could meet somebody who's perfect for you, even though you're committed to somebody else.
We love what we love. Sucks.
How can one of the worst nights in my life also be one of the best?
So the train back to New Haven, like, it was unclear to me, were they going to New Haven or Boston?
Yeah, that was unclear to me as well.
I mean, it was an odd
There's a
thing
train that goes to Boston.
Right, the train goes to Boston, and they talk to a cab driver about driving, and he says Massachusetts is 250 miles and it costs $1,000 to take a cab. Like, there's all this, and then, so I mean, literally, I was confused on a very central, but irrelevant, because the point is her house is far away.
Yes,
It was
it's
an
not
odd
New
thing
York.
to confuse you over.
I too felt confused.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is Chris Evans wanted to direct this, right? And if you happen to be on a flight, on an American Airlines flight in the month of May, you may have enjoyed my American Airlines American Way profile of Chris Evans, where they would not show me this movie before I talked to him. And I found a little bit telling. I'm like, hey, I'm talking to Chris Evans. Can I see the movie? They're like, oh, I'll get you a link. Never happened. So, I appreciate that he knows enough to let people who know what they're doing do what they do, right? This movie is shot in a very pretty and glittering way. New York looks very romantic, by moonlight, and they're both gorgeous, and they both look great, but they have like zero chemistry with each other. The script is terrible.
The script is bad. It really is bad. There's that, you mentioned the one of the great lines, of the many, many great lines in The Office was Steve Carell talking to the camera about what magazines he subscribed to, and one of them was American Way. And he goes, yeah, I know, I get it at whatever, I get it at home. He goes, there's a great, something that leads to, because I want to know where Doris Roberts likes to eat when she's in Phoenix. And,
Cheesecake Factory?
Right, that's all great places Doris
That's
Roberts
my
likes.
guess.
Right,
So,
and that bit you just did is better than any single bit in the movie.
it's really tough because they're both obviously charming and they're both likable and we've seen they're both capable of being good actors. I don't think anybody could save this. The script is these things they say to each other are not, these conversations don't flow in any way.
They sound like they're written.
They sound like they're written. They really sound written.
And they try and sell it. You got to give them credit. Like, I think that they, Evans especially, like he gives it his all really trying to make it sound authentic and natural. But God, just the stuff that they say to each other, it's like reading a book sometimes, right?
They're not interesting at all.
And I think that in trying to sell it, it almost becomes worse because you're right, he does try and he tries to, and he smiles so much, that really lovely Chris Evans smile in this movie. But because he's trying to sort of humanize what is dialogue that doesn't come from human beings, certainly not human beings you want to spend an hour and a half with. So he ends up smiling and charming his way through things. You're like, that's not a thing you smile at. This is not a moment of charming here. So it doesn't. I don't think there's any saving it. I don't think Olivier and Branagh save this.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm having a different reaction, I think, to you. I didn't mind this as much, and partly because I watched 2/3 of it, and then had to go see something else, and then came back and watched the last third on the screener that I had. And so having the break didn't make it so bad. I didn't get sick of anything. It was like, oh, all right, we're back to this. It's fine. Like it's the kind of thing that if you're flipping through the channels and it's on and you're doing something around the house and you don't really have to pay that much of attention, it's fine, right?
Yeah.
It's not much of a recommendation, but they're attractive and it is beautifully shot. You and I talked about, there are moments of feel like Soderbergh in there sometime.
The sound design.
Right.
Did you notice that with the sound design?
Yeah, I found that off-putting.
I found it distracting as well. When they're on the phone, but they're not talking, but you still hear the dialogue.
We were for a bunch of we reviewed True Detective, and there were some moments in True Detective. True Detective has some of the same problems, which is the dialogue that you can't imagine how it survived the table read. Right. Like where they're sitting around, they go, I can't say this. People don't talk this way. I can't say this to another person. What are you talking about? And so, almost seemingly to get out of it in True Detective, we have moments where that's happening, where we see them getting dressed while the conversation is continuing. But I feel like if you're going to have these moments where you can't just move the scene ahead 8 minutes, like something dramatic, you have to see something else of significance, not what happens 45 seconds after the conversation ends. So it felt weird there. It felt weird in True Detective. I don't think it worked. It seemed like a way to get out of what their problem was, which was just a lot of bad dialogue with two people. They're really the only two people in the movie. There are a couple other people who slide in for scenes.
We were talking about Richard Linklater in our Walk in the Woods review. This movie sort of begs the comparison to Before Sunrise.
Definitely.
Where you have these two strangers who meet and they click and they talk. But Linklater could write characters who were interesting and who were meaty and who were complicated, and you cared, you were invested in whether, when the sun came up, will they kiss? Will they be together? Is this going to be the end for them? You don't care for a single second whether these two end up together because they're both so vapid and their problems are so seemingly insignificant, right? We're supposed to be invested in what's happening with her home life, what's happening with him and his ex-girlfriend who he has to run into at a party. They're both so boring. Who cares?
The things they think are at stake aren't at stake.
No.
She thinks her marriage is at stake, and you want to yell the whole time, hey, look, no matter how you slice it, you're going to have a terribly awkward conversation with your husband, and you're either going to stick it out or you guys won't. But whether this thing that you're trying to solve gets solved is a little immaterial, right? At some point, you're going to have a conversation. And for him, I don't want to sound like certainly don't want to sound like a frat boy, but I kept thinking, what a giant wuss. Like
he's very sensitive. He's a sensitive.
I got it, but he's a sensitive. But it crossed the point of being sensitive. Hey, you're talking. This is just, you're obsessing over your college girlfriend. You're 27. You
more
want
than
to try.
that.
Yeah,
they're in their 30s.
I think it's 7 years later.
Is it?
So maybe 28, something
okay,
like that.
Okay.
Either get over it. Try to get her back, but don't.
Right. But don't just pine for 6
Don't
years.
Just pine for 6 years over your college girlfriend. You're super handsome.
Right.
And,
you look like Chris Evans.
Right.
Exactly.
You resemble Captain America.
Right. And you're a good trumpet player.
Yeah.
Dude, come on.
You play an instrument and you look like Chris Evans. Life could not be easier in that regard.
He's very sensitive.
Yeah.
I appreciate that when he made his first film, he wanted to do something different from the big spectacles he's known for. He's taken the money and the clout and made something small and personal that does not feel personal.
I already regret some of this review because obviously we didn't like it. I have no interest in being mean about this movie because he's this incredibly likable guy and he might do well as a director at some point. This is a good start. Understand structure. He needs a better script. If he has a better script, I was delighted to see he didn't write it. If he wrote it,
you know who co-wrote it? Ron Bass.
Nope. What has Ron Bass written?
Tin Cup, right?
Yeah.
Let's look it up. Hold on.
There are a lot of writers.
So
Needed some
keep
more
going.
work.
Hold
Yeah,
on.
it just needed some more work. And so it's, and this is like it looked pretty good.
Right.
as
From a technical standpoint,
yeah.
I think it's fine, right? And yeah, like it could be a little off-putting that the sound design, but look, if you're going to ape somebody, there are far worse people to ape than Soderbergh.
Totally, that's right.
And I think that in the hands with a better script, that actually might have been more effective. I think his instincts, as far as kind of visual storytelling, are fine, but the writing needs a lot of work.
Rain
right?
Man.
And
Rain Man, Joy Luck Club, Waiting to Exhale, My Best Friend's Wedding, How Stella Got Her Groove Back, Stepmom.
all right.
He's written some movies that are better than this.
Yeah, look,
Stepmom
it's-
is better than this.
So, look, it's whatever. I'm surprised it got made. It's not.
Yes.
It doesn't. I can't even imagine on paper what they really felt
'cause
like
it's
was
Chris
at
Evans.
risk.
Because it's Chris Evans.
Right, but then
They
I'm
played
surprised he
Toronto
didn't.
last
Somebody tell him,
year.
"Hey, no, I got it." Well, he could. He should direct again. Somebody should give him but it has to be
A real script.
a more compelling script. It doesn't have to be a big shoot 'em up. It doesn't have to have a lot of
Right.
CGI. It could still be a story about people. It's just that these people did not seem believable.
I was thinking of Ron Shelton,
Yeah, okay, I was going
who
to say. I
wrote
think
Tin
you're right.
Cup.
Who wrote Tin Cup?
I'm wrong. Okay, so what are your numbers, you guys?
I gave it I think a 3.
Yeah, what did I give it?
4.5.
4.5. It's fine.
3.7. So our average is 3.7.
Right.
And it's at
A 0.
poor Chris Evans. And we were talking
Sorry,
about this,
Cap.
we were talking about this at dinner last night that like 0 sounds like it's abominable. It's not abominable. It's just like
Right.
everyone's giving it 1.5
Listen,
or 2
it's no
stars.
Fantastic Four.
Yeah, no one could see this and like it. It doesn't mean people are like ridiculing it.
No.
It's just
It's no Adam Sandler movie.
No. But 0 makes it sound like it is. It's the Adam Sandler movie of Chris Evans movies.
Yeah, there are plenty of movies. Like if you have to see this or many movies in the 40s, I think you might be. Take your grandma to see.
Take your grandma to this.
Why do you hate your grandmother so much?
What did Grandma do to you?
Bye.